Hello and welcome to the okayest podcast on your feed of video game news. I'm sure we're somewhere in the top 30 of
Saudi Arabian leisure podcasts.
Yeah, we're number 7 in Saudi Arabia, or were we like number 2 in Saudi Arabia, number 7 in Spain?
We're international, baby.
I actually played a video game over the week.
A new one, George.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. And Matt and Liam are more onto the hot, latest, big money new releases of this week.
Can I just be angry first?
And Liam just finished turning off the Nintendo Direct that just aired literally minutes ago.
The final Smash Brothers one.
Yeah, we have the final Smash.
Yeah, it was the final ever Smash Brothers. Mr. Sakurai presents.
Sora
Okay.
from Kingdom Hearts is the final Smash of Smash Ultimate. Boy, oh boy, does that sound conclusive. It makes you think that maybe there might not be another one for
Imagine thinking that ending on Sora would be a good idea.
What's wrong?
Fuck
He's a
this.
big. It brings the money
Sora,
to the-
though, dude. It's
It's a big
Sora.
brand.
Look, you
I
guys
gotta watch
know.
it. I gotta
Everybody
see
who's
it.
listened to this knows how much Smash Brothers means to me and has over the years. Holds a very special place in my heart, and the Sakurai Directs have always been exciting moments in time. And imagine the final ever one, and you get treated with Kingdom Hearts garbage from fucking Sora of
Okay.
all goddamn fucking characters to end on is the floaty sword wielding garbage that is Sora.
I do not claim to have any sort of formal education in Kingdom Heartology. However, I am aware that it is a massively huge brand, maybe more so in Japan than outside, and that as a video game crossover fighting between big brands, it seems more appropriate than like some weird Fire Emblem secondary character no one knows about.
Well, this is the thing. I honestly could not think of who it was. And I knew Sora was a potential option. And I just didn't want in my heart to believe that they would end on such a flat note, such a dull, boring, terrible, lifeless, awful character like Sora. And this is all hyperbole because it's the heat of the moment. But my fucking God, what an end to a fucking brilliant series. And if it is the final Smash Brothers, and if Sora truly is the final character, maybe one day we'll look back with glints in our eyes at those exciting directs. Banjo, Joker, even Dragon Quest
Minecraft
Hero in
Steve.
Japan, Steve, and even Steve, but fucking Sora.
Oh, come
Get
on.
the fuck out of here. Jesus.
There have been Smash announcements where I was told to be excited for characters like Bleth and Edelgard showing up. And I don't know who those people are, but I know who Sora is.
Look, yeah, I feel indifferent about Pyra. I feel pretty indifferent about Edelgard. But fucking... So it's the fact that Sora, wasn't before. If he was before, I would have been disappointed because it's Sora and Kingdom Hearts and just fuck that shit. But, you know, if he'd been earlier, if he wasn't the final one, the final ever Smash Brothers character,
Who did you want? Who did you want?
on this spiky head nonsense.
Who did you want?
What are some examples? What would make the world okay?
I don't know what would make the world okay. If I think about all of the characters that were announced, the one that would have been the most left field, I think, would have been Steve, probably. But even then,
Yeah.
it probably would have been disappointing. I think Joker as well, because it's Persona. But
Yeah, these are PlayStation characters too. Like Kingdom Hearts, the first two, and then, wait 15 years for the third one. Those were all like big tentpole PlayStation releases. So this also feels like one of those special moments of the competitors coming together to smash.
even if like, because one of the Mii costumes was Doomslayer, right? So now officially Doom is in Smash 2. Even if it was actually Doom Guy as a character, would have been more interesting. Because, you know, we have a lot of Samus-like characters, but not as many as we have sword-fighting characters. And Sora just ultimately looked really boring to play as well. He's super floaty. He just swings his fucking Keyblade about. He fires magic that you can't control outside of the fact that you have to switch between them by actually using the move so players can predict what you're doing. That's fucking... fuck this. Fuck everything. I'm so sad. This is bullshit. Now I'm done.
I gotta say, like months ago, maybe like a year ago, I was like, man, I would like Sora in Kingdom Hearts, but I didn't envision him like this. This looks kind of boring. I'm looking at it now and I'm just like, what the fuck?
I'm surprised that this...
Isaac from Kingdom Hearts would have been... from Golden Sun would have been better.
This is what gets Liam riled up. Like, of all the...
Look, I care about Smash Brothers a lot, and it's the last... If it truly is Sakurai's last one, it should have been a celebration of gaming. A final moment. Not this tangential franchise that people like somehow... You know, that has been
somehow
incoherent PlayStation 2 franchise that has literally nothing to do with Nintendo apart from the fact that one 3DS game came out. Like, it's Right, I'm done. I'm sad.
Or also the GBA Dream Drop Distance.
Oh, the card game. Oh, fuck that. Yeah.
They've had a presence on Nintendo platforms, more so than like some of the other characters on the lineup there.
Yes.
Like Snake is someone who's in Smash, and I feel like Snake is a more out of left field character. Snake and Bayonetta from these like M-rated games that aren't for kids, especially.
No,
like,
Bayonetta. All the Bayonetta games are on Switch. Bayonetta 2's on Wii U. Look. Snake has a 3DS game, same as fucking Sora does, right? Look, 3DS, Metal Gear Solid, and Twin Snakes. So no. I will not agree. Maybe Cloud and Sephiroth is as far as it'll go, really. And Persona 5, Persona Scramble, and Strikers. But truly, this is terrible. I'm in full angry gamer mode.
I'm surprised that this is what triggers it. Like of all the talk about abusive bosses and problematic publishers, that this is what
now it's just the heat of the moment. Look, I care about Smash. We all know this. I've always been a huge fan since the day it came out. And this feels like an extension of the one that was on Wii U, Smash 4. So this is like 9 years in the making of adding characters, exciting DLC, and every fighter being a part of it. And the fact that I have to watch Mario, iconic legend of the game, Mario, shake hands with this disgustingly boring RPG character from a game that's on PlayStation 2 frustrates the hell out of me. I don't care whether it annoys Kingdom Hearts fans whatsoever.
Based on like the modern company politics, it seems more surprising that they were able to strike a deal with Rareware and get King K. Rool in there. And wait a second, though, it's from a Donkey Kong game. It might have been a Nintendo property, so they may never need to do that. I'm just saying that, like, it seems like there is more synchronicity between Sony and Nintendo for Smash characters than other companies who've shown up in the past.
I mean, not really, because Square Enix weren't playing very nice about Cloud and Sephiroth being in Ultimate. So, I don't know. I don't know how this came about.
I think Sakurai as the final.
Imagine that. How
cool.
Amazing would that have been if Sakurai?
Like all new moves?
Yeah.
All new moves.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah, like the creator. Kind of like when you play fighting games and you like fight like the god at the end.
Yeah, and they're like stylized as a super buff, powerful with like a glowing aura around them sort of version, and an ideal Ubermensch of Sakurai.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Yeah, the Nier DLCs did that. Like wasn't the Square Enix president one of the mini bosses in some Nier Automata DLC? Like platinum game, looking like Senator Armstrong with a suit and tie and just an incredibly buff body underneath it.
Oh, I bet people would love to be as the last character.
I would rather have Sora than 2B. Like it would be, I think, a big possibility for Nier characters to show up in Smash. I would rather Kingdom Hearts characters than Nier characters, but I mean, I
don't know. I would have just rather anybody else. Honestly. Master Chief, Crash.
Master Chief
Crash
Bandicoot. Crash's days were decades ago. Kingdom Hearts is probably cooler for the kids nowadays.
Master Chief would have been
Crash
awesome.
Bandicoot.
Fuck, Master Chief. Can you imagine Spartan Laser? Oh my god. That would definitely have to be in it.
Would have been a more exciting a moveset, I'm sure.
Yeah. The moveset's kind of sucks.
They don't want Smash characters to just pull out a gun and shoot the other guys on the stage.
He wouldn't be shooting.
The modding scene for Project M for that. So they'd have to stretch Master Chief's abilities and tools.
Waluigi, just let it end on a meme.
Waluigi would have just been a throw. We would not be talking if it was a Nintendo character.
Even
like
ending on a meme would have been great. Just not
What if it was an anime sword fighter from Fire Emblem, though, who plays like all the others? How
it would have also been pretty
been?
rough, but at least I like Fire Emblem.
Oh, so is this all just you not liking Kingdom Hearts?
There's no personality to Sora whatsoever. I really don't care. I've played all of the Kingdom Hearts games. Look, I can have an opinion.
Even 3?
We know. I talked about it on the podcast. I played 30 hours of it, and then my PlayStation 4 broke, and I lost all my saves.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I've even played Dream Drop Distance and Birth by Sleep. I have played those games. I have tried. I have truly tried, and I feel like
you've played them. You haven't beat them. You haven't gone through the pain.
I finished 1. I finished 2.
Okay.
I finished Birth by Sleep on the PSP, and I got pretty far in Dream Drop Distance until I think my 3DS broke. I'm not sure actually, but
wow. So Kingdom Hearts just basically breaks every console that you play.
For that, yeah.
Maybe that
is my hatred.
Yeah.
So you have negative feelings towards.
And you know what? And actually, when I was watching the direct, and I was watching it, and I knew it was Kingdom Hearts, I actually was pleading in my brain that it was Mickey. And the final reveal was that it was actually Mickey, not Sora, because that would have been massive. Like a Disney character being in Smash. No, it would have been similar, but at least it would have been exciting. Not fucking Sora.
But there's some rules. There's some rules about who can be a Smash character. And you know, if you can pull out a gun and shoot the other Smashers, that means you're less likely. But isn't another one of the rules that like you have to be an actual video game character, which is why Goku and Seinfeld and Wishbone the dog could never qualify for Smash.
Yes,
well, technically, no, because Pyra is in it, and Pyra is not a controllable character.
What game is Pyra from?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
That's still a video game brand. Like it's not like having Frasier or Matlock or Judge Judy on, you know. I would love to see a like 90s sitcom crossover fighter though. But anyways, I'm sorry that you're sad about Sora.
But I do want to say thank you, Sakurai. Thank you for an incredible franchise. If it truly is your last game, thank you so much. Smash Brothers means a great deal to me. And Ultimate and 4 were so exciting. The DLC was so exciting. Every time we get a new character was always exciting until now. But truly a very inspirational and wonderful series that is like nothing else, right? There is nothing else in gaming that ever could match up to Smash Brothers, truly, for the collaborative effort of all of the
I don't know, man. Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. I was going
to say. Looking pretty. Competition's heating up.
Dude, it looks like trash now. In the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, this could be cool. And then I watched some gameplay literally yesterday. And I was like, wow, this is trying to be Smash Brothers, but like a very low budget one. And it doesn't work.
For gameplay, they almost look like they're straight up copy pasting Melee, which I guess should be like fine, whatever. But like,
Melee
it
looks
is
better than
weird. It is weird that the graphics look like 3 or 4 generations behind the current times, and that the characters have no voice acting. You guys ever notice that in these Nickelodeon videos?
Airy, right?
What is that? Yeah, is that going to be?
Not really sure about
final
the audio,
product?
Yeah,
that's definitely.
There's no weight.
Downer.
There's no weight to the moves. They're just kind of getting ping ponged. If you realize, like the way the characters move, there's a certain weight to Smash that makes you feel like you're hitting something. And this one, Jesus, like
I don't know if you can like know that until it's in your hands.
No, you can feel it. You can feel it. It looks like it's gonna. If I'm wrong, but man, it looks like ass now. Before I was excited, now it's kind of ass now.
What an incredibly negative way to start this podcast.
Everything is ass.
It's not me that's like.
Yeah, it's not like George for once.
I'm enjoying it just from like the exchange coming from the other side. I couldn't really.
You have no
care
horse
that
in the
much
game.
about Sora. Yeah.
Listen, I can't beat anyone in Smash anymore. Those days are gone for me.
My love for Smash definitely. If you had a line graph that showed Liam's love for Smash increasing and mine decreasing, the points would intersect right at that fucking day where I was in the airport on the way to Japan and Liam was just spamming his garbage King K. Rool cannon grab to throw off the stage. For every single match, I'll do the same thing move. That Liam, that was my point of turning. Everything went downhill from there. You know, about a year later, the pandemic happened. That was no coincidence.
I was your Sora.
Oh, instead of opening his heart, you locked his heart.
I locked his heart. I truly broke his heart.
George is in the darkness now. He's in the darkness now.
Oh,
he's Riku.
The magic key light is not brightening my heart or whatever.
I'm probably like Kyrie.
I'm goofy.
I'm probably Kyrie.
George, you're more Donald than anything.
What does Donald do in the Kingdom Hearts games?
He doesn't do a goddamn thing.
He spams healing and complains.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a Kingdom Heart is, so I just have to like picture Donald being the healing girl of your party.
I want to say something though. Last week, right? We did have a podcast last week.
Who knows?
Ted Lasso. Like, I did not like where it was going. Then I watched the last few episodes, and thank God things realigned properly.
They did.
They did, and I saw where they were going with certain characters I mentioned, and I was like, oh, that's what's gonna happen. And rightfully so, because goddamn, I don't want that person on the team anymore. I'm not talking about Sam, but like, oh my God, I'm getting into spoilers. But like it realigned, and I'm happy now. I've never had a show it made me feel like so invested. I guess that's a good thing. I'm like invested in these characters now. It's just like, come on, don't do this to me. If there's going to be like multiple seasons, I don't need it to crash and burn this early on season 2.
Well, there's actually only going to be 3 seasons, they've already said. So
that's fine.
That's it.
I think it should
that
wrap
works
up.
Out.
Yeah, it should wrap up.
So they're not intending it to last forever.
No,
that's fine with
those
me.
Like shows that's still there in a decade.
I think that's what it deserves. Like a true finale. That, of course, we haven't got the finale yet.
Because you can already see the wine just aging, and you're just like, oh man, those last moments are going to be intense.
Some good positivity, which is what we need.
I swear to God, I don't know what type of positivity you watch on this show.
All right,
Yeah.
fine. Because I'm going to be negative about something else later. But
Okay.
Can I be positive about something first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really want to be positive about another thing that has come to an end that I also truly love and take a great inspiration from, which is Bond. James Bond.
Oh, you think it's coming to an
Well,
end.
Daniel Craig's James Bond has come to an end.
Yeah, and it's gonna be weird next time, right? They're like
Well, yes, I think
Thought
it's
it
going to be
ended like 5 years ago.
creepy and self-aware about how rapey the character is for the next Bond. Like there's a lot of interviews like reckoning with that character.
Daniel Craig didn't change that in his Bonds?
There are definitely leanings too. So, I watched No Time to Die, the brand new Bond film.
Right.
In fact,
Nice.
I watched it twice.
Whoa.
I actually watched it again today because I really wanted to see it again in cinema before it ends. I don't know how familiar you both are with Bond, and specifically Daniel Craig's Bond and the
I
story.
love the Sean Connery Bond. I've seen most
not
of
what
the
I
Sean
asked, but
Connerys.
yes,
I've seen like
okay.
half of the Daniel Craigs.
All right.
I know my way kind of sort of around Bond. I
Okay,
want to say
okay,
I've seen like half of the movies in total.
okay.
And there's a lot of them. There's like 30 at this point or something.
There is a lot. I'm a huge Bond fan, always have been. And Craig, I personally think, is now probably the best Bond that's existed. I think he's fantastic. And it was, for anybody who knows like the background storyline that's been going through all of Craig's films, which is about Spectre and about Staff Blofeld and all of the other things that are going around.
He creepy cat boy.
Yeah, creepy cat boy. And the fact is, that's never been very good. It's been like a very weird storyline that just kind of lingers and never really got like going in a good way. And Spectre was just a terrible movie. It was a really bad movie.
So it's not worth going back and watching those.
Yeah, it's worth going back now because No Time to Die is brilliant. I actually think it's either the best or second best Craig Bond film after Casino Royale, which I think is, fantastic. No Time to Die is a brilliant film as well. I think it's just a great film to watch. But the one thing that I love so much about it was that it was so emotional. It was all about Bond. Like, forget the villain. Rami Malek's villain in it is like, nah. Doesn't really matter, but it's all about Bond, and it's all about like him evolving and moving on, and Daniel Craig moving on, and I loved it. I really felt super emotional. I actually almost cried at the end of my first watch of it.
So is there a kind of thing going on now where now that the Daniel Craig septilogy or however many, like there's a recurring storyline that made less sense until it was completed now?
So every Bond film has like its who is the villain of the week, right? It has that. But there was always this thing that it was always tied back to Spectre, which is, the book's ongoing villain, and then Blofeld being the leader of that, right? And of course,
Yeah.
Blofeld is in the old Connery films. He's a bit in the Roger Moore films.
He is Dr. Evil. That is
Yeah,
where
yeah.
that character comes
Exactly,
from.
right? That's what, Dr. Evil is based on, right? Bald, scarred cat boy.
And King Koopa from Super Mario Brothers 93. Anyways.
But yeah, so, there is things are larger stakes. The weapon and the plan of the villain in this is quite terrifying. Like the fact that, if something like that were to exist would be fucking terrifying. Or if it does exist somewhere, we should be terrified. Rami Malek is pretty meh, arguably, as the villain, but he's not important, which is fine because that means that the movie can move forward without him. But the stakes that Daniel Craig's Bond is put under in this film is hugely personal and more, and it just makes you feel more. It makes you care, and it makes you care about what is going to happen with Spectre and like the tangential storyline, which the other movies never could do. And I think it does it really well. Daniel Craig is amazing in this movie. It's easily his best performance as Bond outside of Casino Royale, which, his first outing was just wonderful. It's so like well shot and filmed brilliantly and goes from the pace never lets up. It's the longest Bond film. It's almost 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it because every act is like tight and precise and moves into the next one nicely. There's a lot going on. Like, it's one of those movies where you think back on the beginning, you're like, oh, that feels so long ago because so much happens and it feels really serious. Like you've got that image of Bond in your mind. It's like a jolly good adventure kind of, suave, exotic locations, gadgets. Bond's never really going to nothing's going to happen to him. He's superhuman, blah, blah, blah. This movie, it's kind of a bit different. It has those elements of a Bond film that need to be there, but ultimately, it's just about Daniel Craig's Bond and how he moves on from the role and tying up that story. And it's good. I like it. I really, really, really liked it.
I kind of appreciate the symmetry to the Daniel Craig Bond lineup in that Casino Royale was kind of a soft reboot that also like did a harsh examination of this character and how like despite being in a fancy romantic movie with high stakes gambling and expensive stuff everywhere, he still kind of has this like weird sociopathic streak regarding how easily he can kill people. And Casino Royale like got into why he like screws over so many women in the process of the adventures. That like I mean, when a franchise gets this old, it feels like it's kind of inevitable that it's going to do some postmodern self-examination.
There is a lot of there's definitely a lot of that. There's a lot of female empowerment.
There might have been a lot of like direction and intention throughout the past like 15 years or something of how many years he's been doing this.
Well, I don't know if you know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is. She wrote and starred in a series called Fleabag. And
I know Fleabag.
And she's amazing. She co-wrote this movie. And obviously that has brought envision to the females that are in this. And there is basically a Bond equivalent of another 00 in Marshala Lynch, who is, this female Bond. She's quite young. She's, the forward-thinking part of MI6, right? And of course, she goes head to head with Bond in many aspects. And she's meant to be this, Bond's moved on. He's old and blah, blah, blah. But she's really well done. But there is a scene with, I think her name is Anna de Frez or something, like this actress who is in not one scene, but one part of the film in Cuba. And she's meant to be like part of the CIA and stuff like that. And essentially, all the scene is Bond meeting somebody who's meant to help him, and she absolutely fucking kicks ass. It's so good. It's really great. Like, it can be pandering, or you could think it's pandering, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because the character is amazing, incredibly well written, and the scene itself that she plays out in, where she easily matches Bond in many different ways, but she's joking about the fact that she only had 3 weeks training, is really, really good. So there is a lot of female empowerment. And the idea is that, Bond is moving on, or he is, there's a lot of quips about the fact that he's slept with a lot of women, and also like, does he have this effect on all women, blah, 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 and people being like, oh, he's just an old man or whatever, right? Which you can take or leave, but the fact is there's a lot of female empowerment. There's a lot of reflection from Bond. He's still bitter, and he's still, doesn't trust anybody, and he is what he is, but I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. And I also don't think it gets in the way of what makes this film great, which is Daniel Craig's Bond. He's fantastic, and I really enjoyed the story. It was great. I really, really liked it. And I think if you're a fan of the Bond series, or you're a fan of good movies and stuff, you should totally watch it. It's good stuff. Real good stuff.
Yeah. So
with the negatives, I can be positive.
So you're angry about one crossover transmedia a 20-year-old franchise, but you're happy about another very, very long, like 60-year-old franchise.
Yeah, one ended
with
good.
25 sequels.
Yeah, one ended emotionally amazing, on a high, fantastic, made me cry, and the other one ended negatively, terrible, and made me cry.
Emotional roller coaster here on the Dad and Sons podcast.
I know, right?
Like every few weeks. I was about to say like every week, but really it's every few weeks. But I pleasantly enjoyed a video game over the past week. If you want to keep the good times rolling.
Oh, let's keep going. I'm interested to see what Matt thinks of what I think is negative, but we'll see.
I played the UnMetal. I thought it was called UnMetal Man of Action, but as it turns out, just the trailer is called UnMetal Man of Action. The regular old full game is just plain old called UnMetal. And it is a delightful little $20 pixel art indie game that captured my attention a lot more than Deathloop. UnMetal is a parody game of Metal Gear Solid. It is specifically done in the style of Metal Gear 2, actually, before they started calling those games Solid. You have a top-down 2D pixel art adventure with heavy stealth game elements that they've done a surprising amount of work to bring into the current years. You can hide bodies. You can use distraction items to make noises against walls. There are various stages of guard alertness where they won't immediately raise the alarm. If they first see you, you got a split second or so to react. There are little preview icons that show you ahead of time what enemies are on the next screen you can move into, which is something that the old 2D Metal Gear games this is based off of could have really used to make things feel snappy and more satisfying. And that's what I think is like the big pleasant surprise about this thing, is that it's kind of like a reinforcement of something that I think a lot of Metal Gear fans have always been attesting nowadays, and that is that a modern, smaller budgeted, PC targeted release of the old pixel art Metal Gear games, specifically Metal Gear 2, would go over really, really well. It plays smooth and snappy and easy. There's a surprising amount of degree of interactivity with things. A lot of the objects placed around the environment will do something quirky and fun if you punch them. Like, you know, the whole flushable toilets test for an immersive sim. This game passes that stuff. But the sake of it being a Metal Gear parody, I think, is where things are kind of faltering. I remembered really enjoying the trailer, but the trailer had a guy impersonating David Hayter's Snake voice. I was not ready for that to be narrating your way through the whole game. That guy's voice does get old as the hours upon hours roll on. It's still a short game, about 8 to 10 hours, maybe 6, depending on how fast you are. Yeah, the humor is like, kind of standard boilerplate video game comedy humor of, why are you repeatedly punching these boxes? Sir, there might be something inside. I guess I am letting out some steam from being a captured prisoner trying to escape from this base. People will question the character on obvious video game stuff they're doing. They won't have an easy answer. But besides that, the guy kind of just sort of feels like he struggled to write down a few pages of notes of jokes and threw them all into a kind of blender of a comedy setting. It makes me wonder how well a more serious non-comedy attempt at this genre would go. But it's also still kind of cool to see that games like this exist. I like that we're in a part of a video game history where you can make pure satire parody games at this time. It's still hit or miss of an overall pleasant, good, comforting, smooth, easy, fun time ride. Mm-hmm. Yeah, writing and voice acting a little spotty. Gameplay, though, is like surprisingly polished for most of your way through. I appreciated it. I can see why it's not exactly setting the indie game media on fire at the moment, but it does seem like even if you don't like Metal Gear, you'll still get some.
Is it more like the MSX games kind of thing? Does it just look like that and plays like a Metal Gear game, or does it actually play like those games too?
It plays more like the MSX games than the Solid games. However, movement is more responsive and snappy and polished feeling than the old late 80s, early 90s MSX games, but the visual style of the game and kind of sort of the way the levels are laid out is most squarely targeted at Metal Gear 2 on the MSX2 rather than any other game in the franchise. More so than Metal Gear 1 or Metal Gear Solid 1. It's targeted at Metal Gear 2. God, it's so complicated to try and differentiate, when I'm talking about Metal Gear 2, not Metal Gear Solid 2, nor Metal Gear Solid, which is more like a Metal Gear 3. This game is a Metal Gear 2 game. Fuck. Fuck.
How long is it?
8 to 10 hours, depending on how fast you can go.
Yeah.
Maybe you can squeeze it out in 6 if you don't die, but I died a few times. They have a quirky bathroom save system like Dead Rising, but I guess one of the weirder quirks of modern game design is that it's auto-saving all the time anyway, so you don't really need it. It's just kind of like it used that opportunity to make jokes about how you save your game in bathrooms in video games sometimes.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
So, as like a Metal Gear fan, then you give it the George Metal Gear Solid of approval.
Yep. As a Metal Gear fan, it was a pleasant, not the best thing in the world, but absolutely a pleasant, fun, comfort game sort of experience.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you're not a Metal Gear fan, it'll still do something for you. Like the formula and the genre that Metal Gear 2 is aiming at is more like top-down adventure than dedicated stealth game or dedicated top-down shooter game. And there aren't a lot of other games from that era that play like it. But yeah, adventure game elements too is another thing this thing does that the originals didn't, like combining items in your inventory to solve puzzles.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, yeah, Metal Gear's always had interesting UI, right? But never really done anything for you to mess with it other than the camouflage stuff, really.
Oh, I don't know. And thinking about Metal Gear Solid, the list of Easter eggs is very, very long. Like, remember how you can spin Snake around in your menus to make him vomit?
I don't think that helps you solve puzzles, though, does it?
But it helps, establish the like weird, humorous flavor. And Eddie is eating paper right now, I see. But it really
stop him.
Clues me into I waved him over. He's fine. He's not gonna die from chewing on paper. But it made me think about how effective Metal Gear Solid's humor is because the rest of the presentation is so attempt at, I don't know, teenager cool serious. Whereas when the whole flavor of the game starts with comedy by default, all of the little weird quirky things like UI gags like that, they don't hit as hard because you kind of expect there to be some kind of quota of jokes per minute coming in. And in a Metal Gear Solid game, the humor and in Death Stranding, in a Kojima game, the humor will take you off guard. And I feel like that's one of the more awkward, painful lessons learned when going through this.
Nice. Well, that's pretty good. It's good to hear that the Metal Gear, like we're seeing indie versions of Metal Gear games now. Like,
right?
A lot of
it is
franchises have been
cool.
tackled, but Metal Gear, of course.
And Metal Gear 2 specifically is such a fresh target. Not many games have played like that before or since, but like aiming at that level of fidelity and budget could be a really, really good project for a lot of modern pixel art indie developers looking for a solid way to make a 2D top-down adventure.
I'm interested to see if people take like 3D ones.
I do believe Matt played Metal Gear 2, right?
Yeah, I played them all, my friend. I've played them all.
Metal Gear 2 is one of the best of the series that not a lot of people remember.
Yeah, man. And then he remade it to Metal Gear Solid, and it's so interesting.
Yeah, it clues you into how much of a remake Metal Gear Solid is of Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, it was, man, that was a fascinating review, man. Going through that,
it's such a solid base for inspiration for a lot of projects, I'm sure, and it's nice to finally see like at least one.
You remember when I was starting reviewing? And I was still doing good Guild Wars 2 videos when I met you. And then I was like asking you, it's like, what do you think about the review? You remember that whole thing? I was like, oh, what are your tips and shit? You remember? Man, that was so long ago.
I remember Metal Gear Solid 3 not really clicking with you until you watched me play it.
Yeah.
And that was also kind of a harsh, wake-up call to how weird that game's controls are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
definitely stopped at Peace Walker, which is like a no. Was it Peace Walker? Yeah, it was Peace Walker. That was just too weird for me, man.
Got super great reviews and is a lot of people's favorite game in the series, but I do not.
I like Peace Walker.
Yeah.
Huh? You say what?
I like Peace Walker.
We got one.
Oh, so you like going in the box with little kids? Is that
Wow.
that's what you like to do, Liam? Is that? I could never get past it. I could never get past it. I understand she's not that young in reality in the universe, but you didn't know that. Like
it gets weirder in 5 with her, but I would argue it gets weirder in 5 with Paz.
Yeah, we all remember how Ground Zeroes ended.
I just remember Quiet, like basically bending over for you. Yeah.
She smears her butthole onto the camera. It helps her breathe. She breathes through her butthole.
Jesus.
Like Kojima is just such a weird motherfucker, man. Jesus Christ, man.
So I saw a box. So I was in Tokyo this weekend and I saw a box in Super Potato. It was a original Metal Gear Solid like collector's edition from the first Metal Gear Solid, and it was signed Hideo Kojima 1998 with Yoshikawa drawing a little snake on it as well. That box has sat there for 23 years from Kojima's original signature of it.
How much
man's been around a long time. We forget, like, he's been around for 30 plus years now. It's crazy.
How much is it? George asked how much.
It wasn't for sale. Wasn't for sale.
Oh, okay.
It said not for sale on it.
Weird thing is that when reading media from back then, he already had name recognition from Snatcher and Police Knots in America. Like, those were more popular than the original Metal Gear MSX games. The NES one was like a medium-sized hit, but
who had an MSX in America anyway? Nobody.
Yeah, it the gaming magazines of the time will like say Hideo Kojima and then in parentheses Police Knots Snatcher. Like somehow those weird Sega CD adventure games still gave him a reputation over here before the big bomb with Metal Gear. Anyways, yeah, UnMetal.
Nice.
A good, clean, pleasant time.
So Matt, how you feeling about A New World?
You guys have synchronicity. You both were playing.
We both played. Matt's probably played way more than I have, but I'm interested to hear.
Oh, I definitely have. I'm like 30 something.
Jesus.
It takes a long time to level. So this is okay. I'll say one thing and then you can go, Liam. It's basically 3D RuneScape. What do you think?
It's like the most boring MMO I've ever played in my life.
Oh boy.
I get that it's all about crafting, right? But I think coming off the back of Valheim, I feel so weird about crafting because that game where you craft feels like you make a difference, whereas I don't know about this.
It's like about the economy. It's about
completely player driven, right?
It's like it's player driven. It's very interesting. It's not the same MMO. It's not like you're gonna go in, you're gonna enjoy the story and all that. No, you're gonna be, for the first part, you're gonna be walking to all these places because you have to manually walk to every town first before you fast travel. And they did raise the fast travel points that you get, so you can get it a lot faster.
It's still bad
because it's still kind of sucks that it's a cost, but like I think it has a lot to do with because it's centered around PvP, and obviously you can set your flag to PvP or not when you get out of a town.
How many people have you seen with it on?
There's a few. There's
Oh, right,
like a
okay.
lot. Like people play with PvP on. I play with PvP on sometimes, but because you get
Okay.
10% extra bonus XP, and
Okay.
you can take certain quests that give you a lot of XP as well, and faction points. The faction points allow you to unlock gear, and then you can use the points that you get to buy the gear. Everything has like a purpose. Like when you're rocking around, you see like a plant. It will give you like herbs that you can then craft into linen, and then there's like a cow that you can milk to get butter, and then turn that into like a pastry. Like it just, everything has like purpose. It is interesting. I think they spent most of their time creating this ridiculous like crafting system
Yeah.
where everything you gather has a purpose to do something. And in that, if you're into crafting, this is the ultimate MMO for you. If you like gathering and all that, this is it. This is the game for you. If you're looking for something that with intrigue and a purpose, a sort of questing, where the voice acting cuts out after the first beginner area, and you're literally like, oh, there's no more voice acting, I guess. It gets really boring after that. The thing is, it's very relaxing, and I enjoyed it because it was relaxing. It was a way for me to turn my brain off and listen to this podcast called Wolf 359. It's like a audio experience thing. It's like, what do you call those podcasts where there's like a story? I forgot what you call those things.
A radio drama.
A radio drama. Wolf 359. It's a
Like our grandparents used to do.
Yeah, like years ago. Never finished it, so I re-listened to it while chopping trees. Like it reminded me of RuneScape.
Yeah, I can see that. Because there is absolutely no reason to have the audio on whatsoever.
There's no
zero.
reason.
Just
There's
absolute zero reason to
Yeah.
have the audio on.
Yeah, if you're gonna tell me like the lore is good, no, it's I don't think.
And you
so.
hear the crafting sounds over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So what is supposed to be special about New World? Because I can't pinpoint it for like the life of me. Like in terms of like selling from screenshots and videos, it looks generic, it looks old. And like the one notable thing that a lot of the previews were pointing out is that, they have Amazon money behind it. But it does not look like it's
looks
hitting a very
good.
high target of production. You think so?
Yeah, it looks
Maybe
good.
like in motion when it's like blown up in front of your face, but from like art style, I feel like Guild Wars 2 is prettier in screenshots. at least.
Yeah, I would say that I feel like it looks good as a video game, like a 3D video game, but it has no personality whatsoever.
Personality, yeah. What is the game's personality?
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Witcher 2. It looks like The Witcher 2 to me, like the environments do.
Yeah, I can see
Looks
that.
exactly the same. Not the characters, but
It's because it's like a lot of open fields. All the towns
Yeah.
kind of look the same, except for the when you get to the next areas. Because if you're in the beginning areas, all the towns look the same until the next areas. It's all about after the beginning areas. So you guys you're probably going to be looking at the 3 areas that are 1 through 25, and then the other ones are like higher level. And then there's like swamps and fucking rivers and shit like that. Like but it is also the armor is kind of the same. And for me, an MMO has to have that good armor.
End game, yeah, the reason to keep going, right?
The reason to keep going.
Me,
yeah.
like Matt is like, it gave me a musket, right? So I could use a musket. And I actually was really enjoying using it. And I was like, wow, this feels different for an MMO. Like after using the sword and shield and shit, I was like, well, that's fine. Also, the combat is fucking all over the place. But I used the musket and I was like, oh, this feels pretty good, actually.
Right?
And then I ran out of bullets.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that was it. This is what I complained about last time. I was like, why can't I just use the fucking musket? Why do you have to have bullets? But
why do I have to craft them? And I never have any of the fucking things for it when I could craft everything else. But no, the cool, fun thing that I was enjoying using, arrowheads, find that shit all the time. Where's my bullets? Why can't I specialize in the musket? It's so annoying.
It is the worst part. It is the worst part is that you can't play this because I think they don't want you to be able to just use the musket. They want it to be like some secondary weapon. And I'm like, why? Why have it in the game as some secondary weapon that you switch to?
Well, that's the thing. I was using it like that. Like, because obviously, beginning of the game, you put all your fucking skills in sword and shield just because that's the only weapon you bloody have for a while. And then, so you've got the Q and the R and the whatever on that skill, and you're doing like the whirlwind and the shield bash. And then you get something like the arrow, bow and arrow, which is pretty terrible. But then you get the musket and you're like, great. So you can shoot like a wolf in the head, and then a wolf runs up you really quickly. So you don't use the musket anymore. You switch to the sword and shield. And I felt like the dynamic of combat was starting to make a bit more sense then. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see where we're going for. And then I ran out of bullets. And then it's like, well, I haven't even got a secondary weapon anymore.
You got to remember, this is a crafting economy MMO with built-in MMO. So, like, is either you craft it yourself or you go to a town that has cheap bullets, which basically you want to go to a town that has a lot of iron around the area that people are farming and gunpowder and stuff. And there's going to be a certain supply of bullets. So that's where you would find cheap bullets to buy. Because every town has its own like trading posts that have different prices based on the area, based on supply and demand. So in order to get the bullets, you probably want to go to Everfall or something like that, where it have a lot of iron in it. And then you buy a bunch of bullets and then you're good to go. And you're making money from other things, questing or selling your own stuff that people need in that area. That's how the game is played. So if you wanted a whole shitload of bullets, which will eventually happen because the game progresses when everyone progresses.
Yeah, and like if you don't engage in that, you're out. That's it.
Yeah, if you're ahead of the curve, if you're like if you're level 40, like near me, like you're level 40, you're like, fuck, like everyone needs to catch up in order for things to get a little cheaper. Because crafting your own gathering weapons kind of suck if you're not leveling those things up.
Yeah. If you're interested in doing your own taxes and shit like that, then this is the MMO.
This is the MMO for you. Hopefully I think I'm doing a decent job. Like this game is not a regular MMO.
No,
it's not a regular MMO.
But it's not. But at the same time, it is because all of the quests and everything like that feels like an MMO straight out of 2008. Every MMO that tried to copy World of Warcraft and failed miserably, this is that MMO. That is, you've played it 1,000 times.
They failed when it came down to the questing. Like, why do it so generic?
It's so
like you have the building bones to do something, and then you just have this boring writing, like the voice acting could be better. Like, what are you guys? Come on, man, you're Amazon. You couldn't get something cool going on instead of walking to someone with a little exclamation point on their top of their heads, and you just like, hey. What you doing? It's I need you to go kill 12 wolves and bring me their pelts.
The joke about like that, the joke about like bring me 6 wolf pelts. It's the game. It's like the entire game. It's
Questing is the worst part. But I gotta say, like, it is. I do enjoy it. I haven't played it in the last 2 days though. I stopped playing because I reached that point where I'm just like, okay, I need something more to keep me going. I think I'm gonna take a break, wait for people to catch up, and then I'll level up for the last few. Or I might not even come back to it if a good game comes out, to be honest. But I it's like I like it, but I have to play it with a podcast.
Yeah, you have to do something else. I was playing it while watching SpongeBob.
Yeah, I want to get to fucking the max level, but it's a lot. Like, it takes a while. It takes too long, to be honest, to go through this. I'm like, I'd rather literally pay for a double XP at this point. Like, this is like, I can't do this. I can't. This is taking so long for me to be able to do like the next dungeon. I want to see what the next dungeon looks like, and it's like a carrot on the stick. But to get to that, you have to do that. And like, there's like, if you get to the higher levels of like wood cutting, for instance, there's like this gap where you're just cutting wood over and over and over and over and over again, and it takes too long to level up that wood thing. So you have to grind it out in order to get to like from level 50 to 100, because you don't unlock a new wood type that gives you more XP for cutting it.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that where it's just like these little gaps kind of suck. And I'm in that gap, I feel, where I'm like 35, 36, and I'm just like, okay, I need something to get me over the edge. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting MMO. I did enjoy it, and I'll probably play some more, but I definitely understand your take of it being boring as hell. Boring as hell. I get that for sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I just, as someone who doesn't really engage in economies in games and stuff like, or in MMOs specifically, like, you have to want what the game offers you. And you're right, it's all about the crafting, it's all about the economy, it's all about engaging in those systems. And if you don't want to engage in those systems, don't play the game. Just don't. The combat, I do like real-time action combat, and I think when you get the dynamic of like switching between weapons and stuff like that, it can be slightly interesting. But even the combat, like the hitboxes and stuff, felt really dodgy and off and just a bit rough. Like, so that part was like mediocre, which lay it down as well. So, and the quest
you're talking about like when you try to hit a wolf and it like doesn't hit.
It doesn't hit. Yeah.
It happened to me a few times. I'm like, what is going on here?
A lot. There was a lot of problems, I think, were around the launch in terms of that kind of stuff. Wolves just diving through rocks and disappearing, and it was it was a bit rough. But even then, when it's working, it's fine. It's just fine. It's no Guild Wars. It's not Guild Wars. It's not Guild Wars 2.
It's not Guild Wars. Guild Wars.
It's absolutely not that. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It feels
Guild Wars.
Guild Wars
has shiny weapons. Okay. Legendary shiny
faction
weapons.
Did you join?
Syndicate, of course.
Okay.
There's no other faction. It's only Syndicate.
Marauders. I joined the Marauders.
The thing is, it's probably best to just join the one that's overpowering the server, to be honest, because you get certain benefits, like low cost travel and everything. There's like benefits to everything. Everything is mapped out. Like, it's almost genius the way they do, like, that part of the game is like great. If you like the PvP, if you like the crafting, if you like that's the stuff that works. And I think it's gonna have its audience for sure.
I think
because I mean, MMOs have kind of died out a little bit. You know, it's not like what it used to be. Like, I used to play an MMO every week back in the day. Back when I used to make videos.
This does feel like one of those MMOs, though. It does feel like one of those MMOs that came along and then just isn't as good as the rest, so it just dies. Like, it's never going to compete with Final Fantasy.
I don't know if I could be that harsh. Well, no, it's not Final Fantasy. It's never going to be Final Fantasy, though. Like,
no, I know, but I don't think
Yeah.
the long tail will compete. Even though it's had, 600,000 concurrent players on Steam or whatever absolute ridiculousness is going on with it. Like, everybody and their dog... I'm watching George throw toys at Eddie, so
I've been playing the ultimate MMO Fetch with Eddie. Yeah.
You're probably having more fun, to be honest.
I could do a video essay about Fetch. Fetch is such an interesting game. Anyways, continue.
If you do that would be the end of time.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels super generic as well.
Critical close-up fetch.
I'll be intrigued to see if you go back to it and you go and you play
yeah.
it like especially if because of course expansions are going to come. The game sold a bajillion. It's great that it doesn't have a subscription. Of course, it's just a one-time buy-in, which is good.
I want a subscription, man. I want it bad. I want it bad. The reason why is that the storage system is so
But it's
bad.
got microtransactions, right?
No, the microtransaction is all cosmetic.
Oh, okay.
It's all cosmetic. It's all cosmetic. But like, I want a subscription because I only want it if you can bridge all your storage between all the towns, because I am so tired of the storage. The storage is like the worst part of the game.
If you leave stuff in one town, you have to go back to it, right?
It is, it's so bad. And then you have to pay more to carry things across whatever time, space, whatever that teleporting thing is.
The universe.
You have encumbrance free. And I'm just like, fuck that, man. Yeah, but that is the worst part of the MMO for me. Because like I want to craft some food. Oh, I left all my food in the other town because the quest brought me into this town. But I didn't bring all the food that I got in that. Like I can't hold all that food. So
and then I have to walk there because I can't even fast travel. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. It's a lot of time wasting. A lot of time wasting. But I want to quick mention have you guys watched The Boys?
I've watched the first season. I haven't watched the second yet. I've watched the first, yeah.
What do you think about The Boy? I haven't finished it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah? The first episode is pretty hard to get through, I'm not going to lie. Holy shit.
Ooh.
You remember the first episode?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was dark. I was like, wow, that's rough.
I felt very sorry for him.
Yeah. It was a little heartbreaking, to be honest. I was like, man, this is how you start. This is how it is. But yeah, they really put you in a mood. I've never wanted someone to die so badly in that first episode.
Oh no,
yeah.
Right.
yeah, that guy needs to die.
They're all horrible people.
They're all horrible people.
They're all horrible people.
This is if superheroes were
Dicks.
all corporate monsters. And I gotta say, it's good. I like it. I mean, it's like real Invincible, but right, you know. But like, I mean, I like Invincible because there's a little bit of niceness in it. This world is this world is horrible, really bad. I mean, there's some really dark moments. So if you want to feel like shit, watch The Boys, because it will definitely take you there. Kind of like what Dark Mirror does to your soul.
Black Mirror?
But I wouldn't say it's a good time, but it's fun to watch. I don't even know what to say. I enjoy it. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
Mother's Milk.
Frenchie's a shining light.
Yeah,
Frenchie's a shining light. Okay, there we go. Frenchie.
And his girlfriend.
And his girlfriend. But
it's
yes.
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Good show. A lot of good shows at the moment.
Yeah, thank God. You know, there's a little bit of drought at the beginning of the year, but now video games and shows, they're kind of steadily going up.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I can't help but notice that like movies are really, really long now. You said that the new James Bond movie was almost 3 hours, right?
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
it is. Yeah.
You think that like this is a pandemic thing, that this is the result of movies releasing for home viewing instead of theater viewing, where you have to circulate 90 minutes of customers in and out on a schedule all day and can't leave for bathroom breaks? No, it might be a real thing. It might be a real phenomenon of the
I just feel like
economy
people have
changing
more
from the pandemic.
I think people are more tolerant of what they watch just because they've got nothing else to do.
Marvel movies are getting longer, and Bond movies are getting longer. That's definitely something to notice, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Bond movie, the Bond movie needed to do certain things to end. So that's why that's almost 3 hours long. But I think, you can get away with certain stuff. I can't remember how long Green Knight was, but Green Knight was pretty
Green
long
Knight
too.
was pretty long, yeah.
Squid Game is like 12 hours or so. So fucking well worth 12 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you believe that show is now the #1 watch show on Netflix? That's insane.
Oh my God. I have normie friends who know what that is.
It's insane. That goes to show the quality of that TV show.
Yeah. When you got the good ass soundtrack, okay?
Yeah.
And you got good actors. Okay. I swear to God, if people, I wonder how many people watch it in dub. Oh my God.
Even Taika Waititi posted a tweet saying, "Do not watch Squid Game in dub."
You better
And then he had a load
not.
of flack. And then he had a load of flack from like English voice actors saying, "But it's really good." And he's like,
No,
"That's
it's
not
not.
the point. That's not the point."
It's not good. First of all, it's not good at all. It's never good. It's never good unless it's anime. Because anime, when it's like cartoons, 2D cartoons, it's a little bit different. But you can see the mouths move, and it's just weird. It's weird. Like your brain does something when it's real people having their voice dubbed. You can't get into the moment.
Especially if they're an ethnicity that doesn't necessarily match the voice, right?
Yes.
That is also a bit of a problem, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just watch Squid Game. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good. Very, very,
God.
very good.
Whatever that fucking flute is.
So good.
God. Man, I love when good shows come out, man. It makes me feel so good. Oh.
Well, to bring us all back down to earth, George, it seems you have some Konami rumors to tell us about this week.
You guys been looking at the video game news this week?
No.
There are stronger. Yeah, I mean, we don't got any Mario movie casting like last week. The banter wasn't quite as fun. I don't know. I saw some fun banter literally an hour ago when the Sora was revealed. But
we already did the most important news.
Big
disappointing news.
Big news this week that I thought was the big news are more stronger rumors than usual regarding Konami trying to bring back Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hills. There are a number of stories on Video Games Chronicle who have what they say are multiple anonymous corroborated sources saying that remakes and reboots are in the works. The Metal Gear Solid ones, of which they are now saying is actually going to be a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Around last year, there were some YouTubers who had said they were being given information that Bluepoint was working on a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. As of right now, those rumors are changing to a different studio called Virtuos working on a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Virtuos previously worked on the Switch ports of Dark Souls Remastered, The Outer Worlds, the BioShock collection, and they've also done contract contributing work on Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn. And the choice of them going with Metal Gear Solid 3 over Metal Gear Solid 1, I think, is kind of sort of a weird one in this case. I was more ready to believe the rumors over the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake coming out for PlayStation 5 at some point over the next 2 years, because that would also correlate with the release of the movie, which is supposed to be an adaptation of Metal Gear Solid 1. But nowadays, VGC is saying it's Metal Gear Solid 3, actually. So these sources are also telling VGC that Silent Hill games are also in development, which they had also published a story of rumors on earlier in February. The Silent Hill games are in development by what they're calling various external development studios. They do mention that one of the points of contention when trying to pitch these new projects was whether or not Konami was going to do them in-house or with external studios. And it sounds like what they are reporting here is that if these franchises come back, it's going to be external studios and not Konami trying to wing together an in-house team, Kojima style, because that did not end well last time they They made their final AAA games of MGS5 and Metal Gear Survive. Yeah, that one supposedly was the nail in the coffin for in-house gaming divisions of Konami. In February, they restructured the company. They publicly stated they were dissolving the productions divisions. In some follow-up interviews, they clarified that it's more like consolidating the productions divisions and shuffled around some executives. Some former executive managers are now general managers and production division presidents and things that sound more like project-oriented tasks instead of company-wide tasks. But yeah, I've talked about this a lot, but it still, for me, is kind of sort of in the realm of I'll believe it when I see it style of story. I don't know if I feel as strongly about believing in the rumors of a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake as I would have strongly believed in the rumors of a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. I don't know if that one's going to quite hit the targets they'd be wanting in terms of bringing back this company making legendary games again. Metal Gear Solid 3 is kind of more of a specialized spin-off story for the fans. It's not the iconic one they're turning into a movie over the next year. Metal Gear Solid 3 also has not aged that poorly. I believe you can get past the control
It's still
scheme.
pretty good.
It's still a solid game. It still looks good, feels good.
It's still a solid game.
Oh yeah, Castlevania. Castlevania is on the list too. Again, support from local external studios for Castlevania. I forgot the third freckled stepchild of the legendary Konami franchises. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and Castlevania are all rumored to be in the works, and these rumors come and go all the fucking time. But this one is a little more legit than the usual from a big media outlet that has been publishing these stories for months now and seemed to have a narrative in mind in terms of how the company was restructuring to potentially bring these new projects out to light again. Yeah, I guess questions. How would you feel about getting a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake rather than a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake?
No. I completely agree with what you said. Why would you
I'll still take it over nothing, but well, then again, I don't know if it's really, really bad. I wouldn't want to take it over nothing.
Does it need to be remade? Like, arguably,
it doesn't need to be. No,
I don't think so.
and I feel like Metal Gear Solid 1 is just like such a classic, timeless story in comparison. Maybe easier to adapt to a like shorter tech demo game for a next gen platform too.
To be honest,
what I was thinking the strategy was.
I don't think any of them should be touched, to be honest. Like, there's something about the way the characters move and, like, Otacon pissing himself faces and stuff like that just only works with those graphics. Like, I don't want to see that in high res. You know what I mean?
It's already been remade once, and that was not one of the fan favorites of the series. The Twin Snakes is like regarded as a fun experiment or an oddity. Definitely not the definitive way to experience MGS1.
Oh, by the same people who made Too Human. Those guys?
Yeah, the Silicon Knights remake.
Yeah,
where,
Too Human.
Solid
Best
Snake
game of
backflips in slow motion.
2006.
Yeah, if they make a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 where Big Boss backflips in slow motion off of a bee coming out of the pain, I think I'll giggle, but I wonder if a part of me is dying at the same time while I watch it.
Dennis Dyack. Too Human came
good
out.
Old Dennis.
Dennis Dyack. What a name.
One of the OG bad game bosses.
2008.
There's some irony to that guy's story, though, because he, I believe, lost a huge lawsuit against Epic over whether or not they wanted to keep paying for an older version of Unreal Engine that Epic didn't want them using. I don't know the exact details, but the irony is that as of recently, Epic changed their rules to account for what Silicon Knights was trying to sue them over or something. But yeah, anyways, yeah, he didn't pay his engine licensing fees for too long. He had to destroy his inventory of of unsold games. 2 Human was also in development hell for like 15 years. The team was making other solid projects in the meantime, but they kept that one going too long. Dennis Dyack has a reputation as one of the like OG problematic game bosses. That's a name I haven't heard in a
while,
time.
man. I remember when what was it? There was a bald white dude that I used to like watching.
Peter
there's
Molyneux.
G4. It wasn't G4.
Oh.
It was One Up. It was One Up something. One Up show. I used to love watching these little things on my little mini iPod. I forgot what you call this. Nano. Nano, dude. I used to watch stuff on that little thing, man. God, what a world. Man, we're old.
Mm-hmm.
We're daddies, man. Holy hell.
Daddies and sons.
Daddies and
it's a little
sons.
traumatic how much of the world has changed in our lifetimes. We saw the world drastically change after 9/11, drastically changed again after the Iraq War, drastically changed after the 2008 recession.
Let's stick it to let's do dial-up. Let's do remember dial-up?
Yeah,
let's
dial-up.
keep it clean.
And then it drastically changed again when Konami decided to stop making AAA games. So what do we think? What do we think? Konami coming back to make big fancy games again, potentially MGS3 remake. I think Matt and I had some questionable morose to say. What about you, Liam?
I mean, we've seen the pachinko. We've seen the MGS3 pachinko. We've seen that the cutscenes can look great, but
hit the lever.
From a gameplay perspective, I don't know. I don't think there is any reason to make Metal Gear Solid 3 again, because it's just a game that plays like none other, and that's what makes it special. It doesn't really need any adjusting. I think it's a pretty playable game by modern standards. Arguably, I think 1 would need more of a remake than 3. 3 is personally my favorite. I don't really want it to be touched, but
yeah.
Konami's gonna do what Konami's gonna do.
With them choosing Metal Gear Solid 3 over 1, they're kind of sort of stepping on fan favorite territory instead of mainstream iconic hit territory, which has me wondering if it would just completely backfire from how much baggage is associated with that game series in particular at Konami. If they ended up remaking a Metal Gear Solid 1, mainstream audiences would be like, oh yeah, I remember that from my Pizza Hut promotional days back in the 90s. But if they remade Metal Gear Solid 3, your normies aren't going to know that one as well. And the people who do, though, are going to be hardcore fans who already have such an axe to grind against the publishing company involved.
You know it's not going to play anything like MGS3. It's not going to be as stealth-focused and as awkward to shoot. Like, it's going to be third-person action with
where
stealth.
you hold a button down, the camera focuses on a crosshair, and then you just shoot someone with 2 buttons. Instead of having a weird top-down camera that you switch to a third person with the button press, and then delicately holding down a pressure-sensitive shoot button while also holding down 2 other camera change buttons at the same... Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3's weird controls make some of the moves harder to pull off, and I feel like that's a very important part of stealth gameplay that has gone that way.
Oh well.
In other rumor news, Valve and HTC both have some patent filings that journalists at The Verge and Road to VR are suggesting that they are making a portable VR console. I don't know if I should use that word here because it's not a box that goes under a TV, but you know the thing, in the vein of the Oculus Quest.
Yeah. So essentially just an Oculus Quest competitor. What a surprise. The best VR headset in terms of moving forward in the future. They're copying.
Well, it's absolutely a step that needs to be taken from a better company than the one that is currently in charge of that effort.
You mean the one that goes down for 6 hours and you can't play any of your games?
Exactly. And if you have login issues, you got to try your darndest to get a hold of someone in customer support instead of just making a new account from scratch.
What are you guys talking about? Are you guys still talking about that?
Facebook being down
Facebook
for like
was
I've been
6
down.
playing it
hours.
for months. What are you guys even talking about? I've been playing it
No.
for months.
It was
What?
down yesterday.
It was down yesterday for like 6-7 hours. Nobody could do anything. You couldn't use your Oculus Quest. You couldn't do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
These
That's-
things
that's
have to be jailbreaking if they're hooked up to something like that. There's just no long-term sustainability. Vive, HTC has an Federal Communications Commission's filing that has some information on the internet saying that you can see the FCC label inside the headset instead of printed on the box. Assumption there being that there's some kind of standalone operating system that you don't have to plug into to see stuff inside the headset. Their documentation also details that the thing is going to have Wi-Fi functionality. Apparently, to make a device that uses Wi-Fi, you have to do some filings with this regulator and clarify that you're using the legal ranges of radio waves. Assumption there also being that there's going to be some kind of Wi-Fi functionality on the headset, which would not need to be there if it was hooked up by wires. As far as Valve's rumors go, these were put together by a YouTuber named Brad Lynch, who ended up independently releasing information that Ars Technica was being told behind the scenes. They consider that a corroboration and also published a story detailing these rumors of Valve making a standalone headset. They filed patents regarding for it. There are also some lines in a recent update for Steam VR that refer to a project with a code name Deckard, which sounds like the Steam Deck, the official real portable Steam console that is coming out. The Steam Deck will be different from the Steam Deckard, which seems to line up with Valve wanting to do hardware again. They had some interviews talking about having AMD processors built into the VR headset, and Greg Coomer said that a portable Steam Deck using that hardware would run well in the environment. It's very relevant to us and our future plans.
That seems like the natural progression of things if they're going to keep doing VR.
Yep.
I mean, hardware space needs competition to breed innovation. So,
And one of the questions is going to be what sort of operating system it uses and if
I
and
imagine
how much...
they're gonna keep it. You know, if the Steam Deck is their next big thing, they're gonna keep it in that kind of vein. I would imagine
the Linux versions that they use.
Yeah, using some form of uniform.
The big question with all the Steam hardware is how much of your current Steam library can run on it, and it is harder to imagine them striking a deal with Microsoft to make a standalone Windows-based VR headset than the Linux with a Proton wrapper stuff that the Steam Deck is going to be using. And that's a little bit of a spotty bet, I would argue. I'm wondering if a PC company could really do a standalone as well as a company like Sony could pull it off. In that sort of environment, there's just so much stuff that goes wrong. It's historically proven to not be that appealing to mass mainstream normie consumers.
I mean, I think it makes sense because Oculus, you know, the Quest is the most user-forward VR device that's going to appeal to people. The fact that there's no wires and you stick it on, you just use it anywhere is where VR is going to go. So for them to stay in the game and to make something that competes with that or is better is the logical step. Yeah.
I guess one thing that is surprising me here is that we're not hearing these rumors coming out of Sony and their PSVR 2 stuff first. I was expecting that they would be the one to try and make a Quest competitor before Valve and HTC would have. Because they already are a console manufacturer. They already have all the deals and connections and resources to do a first-party lineup of already existing VR games that are a hit. They also know how to make them cheap. The PSVR is a cheap headset. They have the connections and the hookups. They know how to massively order giant boxes of glass lenses from companies they've worked with for decades. They can cut the costs on a VR headset almost as much as Facebook might be able to. So that's why.
I just can't see PlayStation doing a standalone headset.
They tried to do standalone consoles. They did the PSP and the Vita. They didn't end well, but that's still a better track record than Valve when it comes to supporting your hardware for 20 years on end and then making iterative sequels and follow-ups to it. I had my money on Sony more so than Valve.
Valve is definitely going to be the one to fucking go head to head. They got
Yeah.
yeah.
I would hope, especially if that,
Consoles will be consoles. Yeah.
keep it uniform with the Steam Deck and, try to make an ecosystem always helps.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, the ecosystem of the Steam Deck interfacing with your Steam Decker interfacing with your Steam machine there's potential there, but I just feel like it's going to be weird because of the differences in operating systems. That one of those machines is running Windows, and that has millions of games available on it. The others are running Linux, and that has thousands, with potential for more if the software is all working right. But it's such a rat's nest compared to the console stuff and what the Oculus Quest also already sounds like it has in terms of the simplicity of the setup and experience.
Well, that's the important thing, is it's the user experience at the end, especially if we want to make these devices mainstream and, get people who wouldn't pick up these things usually to play them. Well, it needs to be.
And that's what Steam hardware usually isn't for. Like, they're usually specialty gamer pieces. The Steam controller was an amazing controller for gamers, but that thing did not break into the mainstream market at all, and it didn't seem like they were trying to. The Valve Index is a great VR headset, but it's a $1,000 thing for $1,000 slinging gamers. And what's the other one? The Steam Link? That was not for normies. The Steam Link was not for normies. And a standalone VR headset seems a little more normie tier from Valve's more boutique specialized forays into hardware from the past.
Well, good luck to them.
Good luck to them. Yeah, best of luck. Having competition in this space is something that needs to happen anyway. Logically, feels not surprising to happen. I guess at this whole time, I just was wishing it was happening faster and from a big heavy hitter, experienced manufacturer of portable game hardware like Sony. Yeah, there you go. My two favorite news stories of the week are both just
MGS
rumors.
and VR. Did you expect any less?
But there you go. And from Liam we got some Sora Smash news too. But now it's time for listener questions, which you can send us them. What sort of noun was I searching for? Listener questions. Send us listener questions at dadandsonspodcast@gmail.com. We got about half and half from the inbox and the Patreon this week. First one's from Buster Barnum. Dear Dad and Sons, I recently used HireView, an interview app. At the end, they made me play 2 games, which somehow accurately determined my psychological profile. Dad and Sons, which games do you think can secretly generate your psychological profile? And if you had to make a game to determine one's psychological profile, what would it be?
Playing Super Mario 64, and if you drop the baby penguin off the edge of the level.
A microphone connected to the game that gauges how intense you trash talk the bad guys. I feel like that's definitely revealing psychology. Ooh. Yeah. A game just determines whether or not you get hired.
Playing any online game and seeing if you're a troll.
This is some like boring dystopia shit. This is some depressing, like a Simpsons joke from 30 years ago becoming real. An interview app integrated with video games that are built to determine.
Dystopian. So American.
Oh God, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Seeing if you could play Hunt Showdown without being getting addicted to it.
That definitely filters out a certain kind of person, I'm sure. Man, and the other thing I think Hunt Showdown does is slightly skew whatever RNG mechanics are there to get you hooked. That's a classic one that I think everyone knows about. My mom complains that is what she thinks a lot of a lot of video games are gambling games that are nefariously designed to always keep the carrot at the edge of the stick.
What does she know?
That's what surprises me, is that even she knows that. Anyways, but like, there's also that test that you take in Silent Hill Shattered Memories where the doctor hands your character a sheet of paper and you tick off whether or not you like hate spiders worse than scorpions.
Okay. I think you could just use general RPG skill trees and see if people are generalists or specialists by putting skills into builds, or just being an entire generalist who puts a point into everything. So like everything says strength 15, charisma 15, dexterity 15, and then you're like, wow, that person's boring. Don't hire that guy.
And I would time my monetization nag pop-up screens to adjust the timing of those to the player's psychological profile.
Yeah, see how many microtransactions they buy in like a week.
Per hour. Oh,
Per
okay.
hour.
Yeah, maybe we can step things back to a week from my fantasy target. Anyways.
You gotta be realistic.
It looks like these games are like number games and stuff. I'm looking it up now. This is kind of fascinating. You know those like app games that you have on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that's what it is. And I'm
God.
guessing if you get to like higher levels, it means you're smart or some shit like that. That's very weird.
Fucking imagine like applying for a loan and they make you play a game first.
Oh, fuck
To
that
like
shit.
Yeah, oh god, I can see it as well.
Imagine going on a date and they make you play a little patronizing
That's a
app
no.
game.
That's a no right there.
Yeah.
That's a no. What
Imagine-
the woman will say play this game?
Mhm.
That's what
to determine your psychological profile.
No, that's like an immediate no though. That's like
Imagine going to the hospital and delivering a baby.
that's
And
like
before
them
they
saying
let you
like,
come
"Oh, how
home
much
with
do you
it."
make? Oh, how much do you make or
Just
what car do you
slyly
drive?" Like, get the fuck out of
Disguising
here.
the question in a game. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Imagine being in the hospital for your life-saving surgery, and before they go through with it, they make you play a game to make sure that you're psychologically capable of handling the recovery process.
Oh my god. No.
Squid Game is becoming real, guys.
Don't like
We're all
it.
gonna have to play Candy Crush before we apply for our next jobs.
Pretty sure there's a reason why Squid Game is so popular.
Resonates.
Resonates pretty hard.
Ready for the next one?
It's pretty
Yeah, let's
fucking
jump in. I'm depressed.
Chemo Force asks, "Dear future granddads and regular dads, oof. If you could go on an adventure to save the world back in time to any civilization, a la the Forgotten City, which time period would you pick that aren't ancient Greece and ancient Rome? I would personally pick ancient Egypt, seeing as I'm Egyptian and a furry. I think I'd vibe with my ancestors. They would love to hear all
Whoa.
about Renamon and Incineroar."
That took a turn. When you're fellow people there, George. Furry.
Egyptian and furry.
Or Egyptian
I
and
have
furry.
No.
Does he dress up as those Egyptian
qualms?
dogs? What are those dogs called?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
dogs?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
gods.
Yeah, little like slender, skinny,
yeah.
purely black dogs.
Nice long tail.
Pointy, they're pointers.
Nice and furry.
Would I
long
bother
tail.
even going back to save an ancient city that has already been desolate and dead for thousands and thousands of years? I don't know.
Well, maybe you get trapped there and need to save it to save yourself.
I'm okay.
Edo, Japan.
Okay, yeah. Fun.
So I can see how powerful this Oda Nobunaga really was.
You get to hang out with Yasuke.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna make Liam into sushi.
You can show
Yeah.
Yasuke his Netflix anime from 400 years later.
Yeah. I'd be like, this is your legacy. And you'd be
Yeah,
like,
this is
wow, that
what-
voice acting is bad.
Yeah.
But I have told you guys and some fans about a dream game idea where you are like converting a tribe of hunter-gatherers in ancient Mesopotamia into a city instead, and like sliding around the tokens of resources that would make them want to change their lifestyles to begin the whole shebang. I would love to play a Civ style game that was just exclusively focused on the 4000s BC to gamify the beginning of it all. Everything will go downhill from there. Once you press whatever button turns the tribal chieftain into a king that privately owns land, I feel will be a very, very fun, powerful button to press in a game environment. Whatever button transfers power from the temple priestesses over to landowning kings, I feel like that process would be mathematically driven enough to turn into a game, and also concretely driven with enough material resources, because it all ultimately ties back to people figuring out how to buy and sell and trade land. I feel like that could be a super duper fun game. Create Ancient Mesopotamia, the game.
I like that idea of bringing up civilizations from nothing, but
Yes.
but not in a Civ way where
Yes.
the economy is all fanciful. You have to build proper irrigation ducts so everybody just dies of dysentery.
The first 15 turns of a Civ game, let's like zoom in on just those turns and expand on that. I think that would be really, really fun and powerful, and like good edutainment potential too. You could just do Ancient Mesopotamia. You could like have that game set in America or the Yellow River in China, where all these like civilizations began from scratch around rivers and competing civilizations. The ingredients are there. The ingredients are totally there.
How about you, Matt? Anywhere you want to go?
No.
Why is this such a George thing? How come?
No, there's nowhere where if anything, I would want to go to the future, not the past.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair.
That scares me.
It's more unknown.
Yeah.
It's not looking bright.
Well, you could go find out and fix it.
Yeah, it would either be hell or it would be something,
Or
I don't
heaven.
know, magical.
Hellish, but worth living in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, compared to like the
hellish,
actual
not
ancient
living now.
the actual ancient Mesopotamians, we did get a few decades this century that would have struck them as heavenly. For some people in the world that lived peaceful, prosperous enough lives. I don't know. The future's scary though.
Future is scary. I've been scared of the future ever since I was young.
Scary future.
Scary.
Synapse asks, Dad and Sons, do you remove or hide or add HUD elements, or do you keep them at default?
Default.
Fuck you guys. I try to keep that shit as minimal as is playable.
I don't have time to have to figure my way out. I need something to tell me.
Yeah.
If I have too many HUD elements on a screen, my eyeballs will be focused on them instead of the 3D assets. I turn the crosshair off in Fallout and Elder Scrolls. I turn the mini-map off in The Witcher and use the character's spoken directions. I'm that kind of asshole.
Yeah, that kind of asshole indeed. I feel like there is a beauty to doing that, but also the default is there because that's what the game designer decided you needed as the information critically to help you get on with the game.
Well, what if that's more like what a focus group of dumbass playtesters decided?
True, but also they're the people who've played the game way more than you, so I don't know, consensus generally.
And also, what's bad about having the options for weirdos like me?
There isn't, and that's why they're options, and they're there. I like the idea of walking around a game that has... I like games that have little to no HUD, but as long as it's serviceable to the fact that I won't get lost in the game and not know what I'm doing.
If it's made that way, sure.
I don't turn everything off. I mean, I'll keep like button prompts on, but
well, yeah, you need those.
Definitely don't want. There's a lot of superfluous shit that I will turn off, like, or set the opacity down to like.
That's even better.
10,
I like
15%.
that. Yeah, I like when games
Yeah.
do that.
Like
like
Hunt
that.
Showdown has a real big, ugly item bar, but if you set it to 15%, it's beautiful. Like it will actually block out information behind it if you do not set it to 15% opacity. Like you might run into a landmine that the little strip of information at the bottom of your screen is covering up.
Yeah, I don't know. Default usually. And then either make them bigger or opacity lower or whatever. I like that information. Makes me feel like I'm playing a video game, which is ultimately what I want to be doing.
I want to be immersed in a completely different life. Big Mike asks, Dear Dad and Sons, as the three of you who all worked in the video game industry in some capacity, be it George as a journalist, YouTuber, Matt as a YouTuber, Liam as a tester / whatever his official title is now. Oh my God, wow, the shade. What are some jobs or roles in the gaming industry that the average person or even an informed forum reader or podcast listener wouldn't know about? Is it a matter of sort of carving out your own role if you don't have what one may think of a conventional skill? I'm so sorry, Liam.
I mean, you said bracket director, which is technically my role.
Right.
So that's fine.
But I just like tester / whatever. I feel like more press should be given to the studios that just do outsourcing contract work, the like giant warehouses of Asian developers who will work on assets.
But those are roles. They're still artists. They're
not enough
concept
people
artists.
know about them.
Yeah, but that's not the role, is it? That's not what he's asking. He's asking about the jobs and the roles.
And those jobs also provide a potential solution to the problem of video game crunch. Like,
they do.
If your team is facing crunch time, you can. This was one of the solutions Jason Schreier was proposing was outsourcing it to someone cheaper to work on all the texture work for the benches or whatever like grunt work no one actually wants to do.
It doesn't work that way. When I worked at Rockstar, they used 3 outsource houses. Didn't change a damn thing. In fact, it creates more work for QA and testers because there's more things to test and break. So I don't know. It's not really how it works. I think there are a lot of roles out there that people don't know about. For example, in QA, there's like multiple different roles. QA analysts, you got people who work on economy, you got people who work on specialist things. There's a lot of specialist roles that people don't know about that either get made by the studio because someone ended up being a specialist in that. Like, there's a lot of, you won't know about like standards testing. Like, there'll be people whose job is in QA to not test the game, but to make sure that like, when you boot it up on Xbox, it only takes 10 seconds to load instead of 12, right? What are the images that flash up? How people who will like have encyclopedic knowledge of like all the TCR checks on Xbox or all of the platform fails on PlayStation. And it will be like really mundane stuff like, what if you triple press the PlayStation home button and how does the game respond? And is it a TCR fail and stuff like that? So like not sexy work of like playing the game and all that stuff all the time, but really grind-worthy stuff. And then, you know, as you move further up the chain, there's a lot of different audio designers of different positions, artists who were either like concept artists or specifically like, you know, artists of certain areas of the game. And you have like producers, but you've got producers who are like audio producers. And, you know, there's a lot of like branching off points, I feel like, that create specific roles. I think if you work at indie studios and stuff like that, sometimes you can carve out your own role by being, you know, being hired as like, let's say a game designer, but you end up being someone who's amazing at designing mechanics for a game, like certain mechanics. And then you become like this, you know, the systems designer or something like that. And then you can carve those roles out for yourself where you're a bit more niche and specialist, I think.
Oh, narrative designer is always a fun one.
Narrative designers, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot
Super
of people's dream
now.
jobs.
UI and UX designers especially are like invaluable now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of roles that people don't know about, or people, you know, just take for
I think
granted.
it changes too. I think it just depends on the game.
It does, and the size.
I believe Riot Games has recently started hiring for positions of lore master, which didn't really exist a few years ago. So you know, if you want to be a narrative designer, that's probably another position those sorts of skills would be associated with is the lore master.
Oh, and that trailer. Oof,
The guy
that
in
trailer.
charge of making sure all the lore
Arcane.
is consistent.
Arcane looks so good.
And there you go,
Wow.
lore master at work, making sure that shit is,
Oh
Type
my
Yeah,
shit.
they're
god.
transmedia proproperties. So
that's what that role will have been created for. It will, as soon as they realized that stories were going to be in other things. You gotta have someone on, who's holding a tight grip over the continuity between those things and making sure it's all tight. You got tools programs and stuff like that. People whose literal job it is as a game designer or a game developer is to make tools for game designers to make stuff. Like, there's loads of jobs like that.
Oh god, that sounds like one of the expensive 6-figure MIT programming graduate jobs.
No, not really. Failed game programmers, maybe sometimes. Just people who can build tools, whereas
Because like the bottleneck so often is like that. Like how you can train a team on
Well, it
the
depends,
tools,
right?
but
A lot of-
making the tools takes like programming knowledge
yes.
of a different tier.
But then, you've got to build stuff that other programmers are going to enjoy, right? You got, graphics programmers who are like programmers who specifically deal in like shaders and graphic stuff. There's all sorts of roles, and you can create specialisms for anything, to be honest. I think if you looked, let's take a game like Destiny, for example, that has economy and it has multiplayer and has rating and all these things. Look at MMOs and then look through the credit list, and you'll see like fauna designer or
Corner designer.
alien race, what you call them, expert or something, alien race
Xenobiologist.
Yeah, you'll find amazing titles, I think, in that, and it's just, as Matt said, it's like specialist to whatever that game needs, and it tends to be AAA studios. In indie studios, you're a programmer, an animator, an artist, a designer, or you're all of them as one person. So yeah, it's a little different, but I think there's plenty of roles out there that you'd be surprised by.
Yeah, Josh Foreman, which was a guy we had on the podcast, was either this one or TOVG. He worked for Guild Wars 2. I can't remember what his exact title was, but he did like the jumping puzzles and the weird stuff. Like Super Adventure Box, which was just this like seasonal thing that would happen. Like he was like the head of that type of stuff, and that's it just depends on the
You'll have
game.
teams within teams, right? Like you'll have, this is the design team, but these guys design specifically those things and they don't do anything else. And then your role becomes, content creator for online platforms at Christmas, and then it's just like, it becomes very rudimentarily just a way of differentiating you and being able to say that you did certain bits of content.
When you look up the Guild Wars 2 credit, there are 15 names underneath the category of design leads.
Well, design lead is like animator lead. It's just something that puts you in a position of where you are designing certain things, but also you are responsible for something. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh, one thing that always throws me for a blind side is learning how much media gets published internally in companies, which the Fortnite lawsuit brought some of that out to the public, that and internally in Microsoft, they had people somewhere in under the PR umbrella writing game reviews for an internal company magazine about the competition's products. And whenever a few years ago, when like insiders were showing me some leaked materials, like it always throws me for a loop how much work goes into them from people whose full-time job is to make stuff that that feel like real products, but not ever gonna be released to the public.
Well, no, that feels like it's just internal research and stuff like that.
Internal company publications are a bigger thing than I think people know.
You get a lot of what do they call them? I forget what the game reviews are called, but you can get journalists who are paid to make game reviews before a game comes out, and it helps the company sort of understand what might be about to happen. I forget what those reviews are called.
In the Microsoft case, it wasn't journalists they were hiring from outside the industry. It was people already in their communications division. So
I think it's a smart thing to do. I mean,
a side project for someone who was full time inside the company. But whether or not it's fully a side project or not, I don't think we'll ever know.
Probably not, but I'm sure in certain companies there are teams that his entire job is to basically do that, or is to basically be like, this is what The Last of Us does, and this is what it does good, this is what it does bad. Let's use this for the next Bioshock. I mean, that will happen. There's lots of interesting roles.
Interested me how much it read like a general consumer review and not a like specialized report on industry competition.
Because that person will know more about their internal games and the systems that work, that they'll be able to shine a light upon what they need versus the average punter, right? Like if you're making Bioshock, for example, again, if you're making Bioshock and you know that you're a third-person RPG that has moral choices, ambiguous choices, and, bad choices, and then you have these different skill trees. If you look at a game like The Last of Us, how much can you draw from that with somebody understanding, not just writing about The Last of Us, but writing it with the reflection of, well, how do I glean as much towards making the new Bioshock from The Last of Us then, other than just saying The Last of Us is a good game or not? Well, it doesn't have any choices to make. So all of a sudden the narrative of that and how that paces out is very different to Bioshock. Therefore, you're not going to gain or glean really too much information from that based on the fact that the player's experience of the narrative is very different. But it is a third-person game. How does their third-person cover work? Is it intuitive? Is it this? How do the controls work? And then they can look at that and they can write about the fact that, well, I think, compared to what we currently have with our systems, you can do these certain things. I think there's a lot more precise information that is required from people who understand internally what's going on with their games and then can shine the light through that as a lens to view other games instead of just reading IGN's review, which is just, this game is good. These are the reasons why.
Yeah, but what leaked out looked like a regular IGN review.
Probably, but I'm not saying that that is the only one. I know for sure there are ones that are through the lens of like, how does it help us?
Yeah. I mean, I remember talking about how surprised I was at the lack of jargon and inside baseball talk in that internal Microsoft review of Last of Us 2.
Well, we also don't know who the reader is, right? Like, it could be directors, and they are
old people who don't know video games in the company.
Exactly. Why they're asking, like, why is The Last of Us being talked about all the time? Why is it sold so much? And then, this is therefore the thing that gets responded to. I don't know specifically, but I feel like there are two kind of positions, and the one I think internally why having people on staff to do those things could be really important.
Yeah. Well,
video games.
I hope that answers the question. We know a few. They're not that glamorous. One of them might be, but yeah, we know a few weird positions that don't make a lot of public facing content that still stick around these companies from beginning to end of a project cycle. How in the world do I wrap up the podcast after that, though? It just seems like such a ambiguous, open-ended question with still more possibilities that we don't know about, and a long list of asterisks at the bottom of all those possibilities, throwing wrenches in people's interpretations of it, because the nature of the question by itself is one that hinges on unknown factors. It's just like what sort of positions might the public not know about, which Dad and Son's co-host sure isn't, with us being number 7 in Saudi Arabia.
I'm official Sora hating Bond fan delivering into a new world producer. That's my official title.
And none of that's secret. I mean,
wait, a co-hosting producer.
It's all for a product that's going to go out to the public. But
that's my role. That's my role that no one else has, that people might not know.
Oh, I'm George. That's my role. Like when you're playing a role-playing game and you have a paladin and a warrior and a healer and a George.
You're like a George.
Yeah, I'm the
and you
George
name it, and you name it George, but spell
that's
it.
That's my class.
Georg. Matt's just like
Matt.
gamer of all.
Matt.
Position of man who plays the games.
Mm-hmm.
Watches the
Actually
TV.
finishes them.
I just come in
uh,
and be like, that doesn't look good. Let's try this. And then I walk out.
And then walk out.
And then walk
money
out.
man.
The money man.
Ideas
Money
guy.
man. Ideas, man.
Oh yeah, I guess that's one thing we should throw out though. Like of all the weird internal jobs, I don't think Ideas Man is one of them.
No, it's definitely fucking not. No one gets to do that. It
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
everyone
has a fucking idea.
Everyone knows that Ideas Man aren't real things, right, kids?
10 a penny. You're 10
Right,
a penny.
kids?
10 a
Once
penny.
again, I feel like I'm at a loss for like the perfect segue, the perfect ending.
You had it. It was
I almost
I'm George.
did, and then
Just
and
say
then
I'm George again.
I Georged it.